Hello, Pastor Matthew Diehl here, and Tommy Orr, one of our elders here at the church, and who fills in for me and preaches from time to time. And we're meeting midweek this week. Didn't have a chance to get together Sunday, but Tommy, I wasn't here. I had to be away, but I understand you preached a sermon about the Washington Monument.
That's right.
I mean, in church, you're going to talk about the Washington Monument. Now, why is that important?
I wanted people to know three distinct areas that God was definitely involved in, and when all this got started in the first place.
Okay.
And you want me to go into those three things?
Well, I mean, just, I know you don't have your sermon notes in front of you. Don't put you on the spot here.
First thing is the Washington Monument, when it was completed, on the triangle, the very tip top of it,
Yeah.
there's two Latin words that are up there on the top of it. And those words are Laus Deo. And nobody knows that those are written up there. Obviously, you can't see them, but history tells us that that's what's written on the very tip top of the Washington Monument. And why the Washington Monument is so significant, it's 550 feet tall, but no other building in Washington, D.C., in that 69 square miles of city, no other building can be higher than that. But what that says is, it says, praise be to God. And I think it's important for people to know that when that beautiful monument was built, praise be to God was very prevalent and right there on top of it for being the first thing and the highest thing that happens in Washington, D.C., which is the seat of our government, right? And when they finally started it took them 25 years, they finished it in 1888, but when they started on the monument, every monument or every building like that has a cornerstone. And the very first thing that got placed into the vault of the cornerstone was the Holy Bible. And I promise you, most people didn't know that. And then the other thing, if you're a tourist, well, I don't know if you can go up to the top now, but if you went up to the top of the Washington Monument and you looked and you took a panoramic view of all of Washington, D.C., it's a perfect cross that is formed between the Washington Monument, the White House, Lincoln Memorial, and the Jefferson Memorial. And I promise you, nobody's going to talk to you about that. So when everybody says that Christ and that God wasn't involved when this country got started and all this stuff that we talk about that was in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and George Washington and all these important founders of our country, God was always present. And we should remember that God's always present with us now. But it physically shows how he was present in Washington, D.C.
So with everything going on in the country today, and we can all watch the news and see what's happening, not only today, but really our whole lifetime. I mean, there's been a digression away from this country was founded upon Judeo-Christian principles and law. And so it's always important, but with things we have going on now, especially for our young people, to see the truth in our founding. I have some books here I want to introduce, and here's one, What They Believed. And so this is a little pamphlet. It's real simply, it's the faith of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln. And this was put out a few years ago by Dr. James Kennedy. And I just encourage our readers to try to find that. Tommy, I gave you a copy before we started talking. And here's another one. Here's by M.E. Bradford, A Worthy Company. And this goes into, let me just read the back of it here. It says, I better get my glasses on, you know how this is. But I don't want to miss a word. Yeah. Okay. It says, the role of Christian statesmen in the founding of the Republic. That means America, we're a republic. It says, Dr. Bradford's penetrating research proves that 50 and perhaps 52 of the 55 framers of the United States Constitution were Christian. Not humanist, not deist, not agnostic, but Christians. They were men of the book who were mindful that those who governed would be held accountable to a higher authority for the use they made of their special powers. Just think about our government today. If all politicians would have this idea that God is watching their every move, if you will. And so A Worthy Company is really a good book. And here's another one. Catherine Millard, The Rewriting of American History. Okay. And this goes to show how there are forces in America that want to go and rewrite our historical architecture that has Christian background to it in construction. And so, you know, we have to be careful. You know, if you want to do away or take over a people, conquer a people, you rewrite their history, especially with their young people. You just simply teach them something else, and you erase the monuments that are in front of everybody. And so that's an ongoing concern we have in this country, and these books highlight that. And so, Tommy, I really appreciate you bringing the Washington Monument. You know, I guess it would be really an affront to God and to our founding if somebody were to build a building higher than a Washington Monument in Washington, D.C.
I really don't think any political party would allow that to happen.
Okay.
I just can't see it. But yeah, one point on what you're just talking about, and we think that we're just asking these questions now because we're so split up with all our political beliefs, and we're so divided. That's a whole nother thing we can talk about. But the press asked Lincoln if he was a Christian and if he believed in Jesus Christ. I don't know if you've heard this story, but when he left to come to Washington, D.C. To become the president, when he left, he told him, he says, I was not a Christian. And he said, when I won the election to become president of the United States, he says, I will tell you that I was not a Christian. And so the news guy was just all flabbergasted because he thought that he was definitely going to say something. And he said, well, then when, if you're a Christian now, when did you decide to become a Christian? And this is in the history books, that he became a Christian after Gettysburg, after the tragedy that really kind of like a 9/11 event, where there were so many people from the North and so many people from the South who lost their lives, and he had to stand over that before he made the Gettysburg address, and he at that time accepted Christ as his Savior. So, you think we're thinking about it now that people don't believe in God and that you got to take it out of what was happening when everything was going on? No, the press was asking them about it back then, and then Lincoln told them straight up he wasn't until he saw the tragedy that happened between the North and the South at Gettysburg, and that's when he found the Lord.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that observation. You know, a lot of us, we need to study our history a little more, you know, and so it's important. Well, Tommy, I appreciate you bringing this forward in the sermon. You know, a lot of churches, they might be timid to talk about these things in church, pastors preaching sermons, but we need to encourage all ministers and Sunday school teachers or Bible study teachers or home group teachers to talk about America's founding and how God, the Christian faith, is particularly woven into the fabric of our government. And of course, forces now, in my whole lifetime, have been trying to change that. They have a different agenda to a socialist, godless government. I mean, for those of you who don't know, the first thing that socialist communists do when they take over, historically that is, when they try to take over a country, is they do away with the church, any belief system, and they want the government to be the only belief system. This is a historical fact, and so we're confronted now with a system that that's exactly what they're trying to do. And we need to stand up for God and our faith and for our children. And this is so important. We need to speak out. We need to be, it's no time to hold opinions back. It's no time to hold the facts back. And so we need to talk directly to exactly what's going on, and it's for the future of our children, our grandchildren, and for freedom all over the world. So again, Pastor Matthew Diehl here at Round Top Church Christian Fellowship. You can ding the bell, and for the next one, videos that come up, and you'll be notified. And then you can always email me. We're obviously doing a Cliff Note version here of these topics, introducing some things to people that maybe haven't seen them before, jogging the thought process, if you will. And so we thank you for viewing in, and God bless each and every one of you.